start with Andrea. Andrea Murnik, I can say that he's our colleague, very well known in CTK. The most important, what I learned up to now from him is that everything could be, if you are smart, everything could be open. I mean, open. The most important thing that I have to mention is open knowledge and open courses. Maybe later, maybe it's better, Andrea, that you introduce yourself, maybe more detailed. I just want to say that really very interesting man talking about art and psychology and cognitive styles. I mean, we could, sometimes I think that we could speak through nights and nights and wouldn't be exploit all topics. Another way, WUK is one of the, how can I say, one of the most interesting people is here in Ljubljana, Slovenia, regarding a very special approach to something we could say public means. I mean, I was at one conference, probably you remember, in museum when was Web 2.0, the Web 2.com.
Yeah, Library 2.0.
Library 2.0, yeah, and there were a lot of discussion between you and also between Yugoslav Petkovic and with the former director of IZUM regarding the ownership of bibliographic data. It was amazing discussion because the basic statement was those data are public because they are founded, I mean they found it with public budget, but they are very closed. So this was also one of, I mean, this was the reason that we invite you maybe here, that we speak about those problems because it's absolutely very important for us. It's very absolutely important for us that we have also that kind of, I mean, supporting statements, and librarians are very, how can I say, we are very aware of problems with those. So, and probably I would like to ask you maybe to introduce maybe your, how can I say, your work and your background, maybe detailed. And Simon Matsuch is very special. Simon is
voice behind the camera.
Yeah, but he's one of your students, and
okay, something more than student.
Something more than student, also. How can I say? Also a colleague, assistant.
Colleague,
yeah,
colleague,
yeah, and it is part of one very great group. I mean, talking with those group during those sessions that you have here in CTK on September. It was a pleasure for me just because I feel something warm. I mean, those enthusiasm without any specially forum, but focused to learn as much as possible in a very short time period. That was a great experience also for me. I didn't be involved so intensive, but there were some nights. You have, I mean, this is kind of a joke, but yeah, it is in real. You have possibility to use our those computer room. There were some nights that I worked till the midnight, and it was I wasn't the last person in this library because they stayed in the library and learned. I think sometimes till the morning, and this is really something that it's very great to see. It's very great to see if you're a librarian that you have audience that they need your premises, and very great story. So Simon was one of the most motivated.
Absolutely the most important.
So first of all, I want to apologize because moj slovensko je preslabo, še preslabo, ampak naslednji let mogoče bom. We are here for talking about open access. It's the week of open access. And I'm very grateful I was invited here for telling about my experiences in this field. And I would like to say immediately that we work, I mean, we will be better understood after. We are a kind of team, and we work mostly on free knowledge. And we consider open access a part of free knowledge, or the contrary is the same. The small difference is that free knowledge means that knowledge must be really for everybody, and with no kind of limits, also no copyrights, for instance, and no duty to quote who was the author of something. And this comes from a consideration that no one, we suppose that no one can really say that he owns his knowledge, because everything that we know and everything that we say is said and thought and elaborated because somebody taught us. Parents, schools, friends, experiences in life, and so on. So maybe, and also if we say, oh, but I'm so able to think, I'm so intelligent to elaborate the data, yes, okay. But this, I was also taught to make this. So, and so, who can say I own what I know? Nobody is, by our point of view, allowed to say this. We consider that knowledge is, we use this metaphor, is like the smell of a flower. There is a flower that emits a smell, and this flower can be owned by somebody, the flower. And of course this flower also needs that somebody feeds, but the smell owns to everybody. What is happening today in our world is that for many reasons that I would like to briefly analyze, let's call it this very general word, the system makes so that people cannot approach, cannot be so close to the flower to get all the knowledge that I think is their right to get. And very simple samples of this fact we can see from the laboratories. For instance, laboratories, let's call about pharmaceutical laboratories, for instance, they, everything is patented, everything is protected, every idea that comes, every research and every result of the research is protected and not shared, because somebody has to make money. And then the answer is, okay, but we provided the money, so it's fair to get it back. And probably, certainly it's fair. If you are giving some money, it's also good that you get back. But I think it is quite, there is a distortion of this system today, so that there is a kind of exaggeration. And AIDS is or HIV virus is the most evident example. There are millions of people dying right in this moment in Africa, and nobody's dying in the other countries. And this is just because it's a question of money, it's an economic question. So the knowledge and the possibility is not given to the others. We have another very good example that is also involved in the libraries. Students are asked to, in the universities, they are asked to make researches. Not only students, also postgraduated people, they are asked to make researches, and they need to some, for instance, some articles from some magazines. And these magazines, typically in America, they cost, most part of times, the subscription costs something from 10 to 22,000 dollars per year. And of course, the student cannot make the subscription, so this subscription is made by the university, by the library of the university. He can go to get it, but he cannot copy it, he cannot share it. And the library that, of course, spent the money to make this subscription cannot share with another library that has exactly the same function, and cannot give the possibility to a student that is not able to come physically to the library or to be physically connected through to the library cannot give him the possibility. So if there is a student, very intelligent, very with a lot, very talented, that is living in not in the, he is too poor for coming to the city each time he wants, or even to be to attend to a university, so he is out from this system. And the history of humanity is based on the fact that knowledge allowed us to make some progresses, a kind of what we call civilization or progresses in sciences and in knowledge and in culture and everything. But today everything is limited by this question of money. And the knowledge is considered like shoes, it's like a product. It can be measured and sold. And this is completely out from the use. It's useless for the knowledge. Knowledge must be free, we know, perfectly know. We are here sitting to share some ideas and then hopefully certainly the individual knowledge of each one of us will increase after this meeting, and we will have new ideas and some suggestions to follow. So what we do, we started to make lecturing. We are working on a very precise subject, that is methodology of creativity. And we make lecturing, we make a lot of researches on this, based on the fact that we consider that reality doesn't exist as a matter of fact, not as a philosophy, not as an attitude, not as a new age attitude, but as a matter of fact. We demonstrate that reality doesn't exist, and from this point we start. We say, okay, now what? So we need to, I started to make some lectures in some universities, academies, and even when I was offered to get some fee for this, I refused, because I wanted to be coherent with this idea that knowledge must be for free. That doesn't mean that money is not involved in these kind of activities, but cannot, from our point of view, be involved on the fact that you are smelling sniffing the smell of this flower. I like to make another kind of metaphor. There is a music now in another room here, and all of us, we are listening to this music and enjoying it. So there was an author, there is somebody that is playing in another room, but we are enjoying it for free. But if in the moment that we say, okay, can the singer come here and sing for us? So this is good that we pay him. This is fair that we pay him. But if the music must be for free, the singer must be paid. For this reason, in our centers, we provide everything for free. But if we are invited, to make lecturing or seminars and so on, we put a fee. And now the last step, nowadays, we are starting to physically open the Nissan 2 centers. These centers are called, in homage also to Slovenia, Nissan 2. Only one word. And these are centers that provide facilities for people, not only students. They want to research on the field of non-reality. That practically means on the field also of reality, if you want. So, and we try to put them in touch with other people, experts in the world, through also video conferences and these kind of stuffs. And these people, they have to make a research, and as a consequence, as a product of the research, must be produced a kind of lecture. This lecture will be made is made in a room and with students, with people who are interested. Will be a kind of rough lecture, but recorded, and everything will be put on internet. Already some lectures are on internet for free, of course. Then, if we see that it's interesting, that and people are interested, and there are some interest on this subject, we invite the person to go deeper and to produce, and we have for this to produce a professional lecture with professional video, and also this video is put on internet for free. And then Nissan 2 Center tries to sell this the lecturer to organize lecturing seminars and what else for and only in this moment there is some money that goes to the researcher and to Nissan 2 that takes 10% from this activity. Of course, there are, like in every other open access activity, there are other sprints that provide money, that are, of course, advertising, crowdfunding, donations, and what is common to all the other activities. These are the first center of Nissan 2, physical center. This is a kind of network of researcher, physical network of researcher, but of course we also need some place where to be. It's physical, the researchers are physical, but they are spread everywhere in the world, and connected, of course, through internet. But we also need some places where to provide our activity and administration and so on. So in different cities we are opening some centers. The first one will be open in November in the Academy of Visual Arts here in Ljubljana. And we will announce officially it with a meeting in the middle of November. So that's it about my activity, and I think that I spent more than my 15 minutes about, so I hope that...
This talk was about digital agenda, European digital agenda, which is a very, very strict and fixed piece of paper, an agreement between very many interest groups and political organizations and countries, and it is a document deriving from Lisbon Constitution of European Union, and now it's a birthplace of a set of directives that are directed at any country makes part of the EU, and it's especially interesting in the field of culture. My talk was prepared as one of several in a day devoted to this, so I focused on one particular aspect. This is not an introductory thing about reuse of public information in culture or anywhere, but I figured that the suggestion I had for that occasion 10 days ago is good enough even today, even after all this time. 12 days in our lives nowadays is like 5 years emotionally. So this is deep past. So this is why I dare to reuse my own data so bluntly. These are few slides like that explain a little bit of what I do. This is my day job. This is my digital consultancy thing that I do most of the time during the day. This is my art career, but I'm really not going to go into, this is too much bullshit, and just reading all this is exaggerated. Let's go through what I'm going to be doing to you now. I got a point to make, a bit of a secret to tell, a suggestion for everybody involved in in reuse of public information. 2 or 3 examples, and then I'm going to repeat that point. It's very simple. Before that, there's a little bit of an introduction. Since this talk was at the Ministry of Internal Affairs, I figured, and you know, it was for all these people, for the state apparatus, I figured it's meaningful to tell them that supervisor is a good deal, is a good idea, you know, that thing. It's this piece of, it's like self-inflicted WikiLeaks It's it's really a database, a publicly accessible database of all transactions that involved public money in this country in these last 10 years or more, from 2003. It is solid, it's quite well done, and it has shaken firmly, and it has irreversibly changed the landscape of transparency of the way the public money is directed in this country, and has created a lot of headaches, as you can imagine. So it has some pluses. It's a good collection, a fairly good interface. Has some minuses, which is that it's frozen in time. Today it looks the same as on the day one, and the second thing, it is not providing any education to anyone. It's just a frozen database. You can just access it or not access it. It's like all you can do with it. It's non-dynamic in that sense. Room for improvement is around, and there's a second part of the intro which explains where we are now in a broader picture, which is possibly of interest approach too. This is from some German guy from a blog, and it's about irreversibility. This is an attempt at visualizing the way that the market of information is shifting in these last 200 years. The very first position in 1800s is described with this black diagonal, and it's describing how 200 years ago the humans were getting all the information they needed and they used for creating an image of the world and of themselves. All the information that was basis for their action, all of it came from one and only source, which was direct contact in the literal marketplace, where you went to buy cabbage and meat, okay? And then slowly, with the advent of media, first the printed media, later on what we call electronic media, radio and TV, the market share of each of these communication platforms started to change. And at first, the printed media, later on, the electronic media started to dominate, started to hold the major portion of the pie chart, of the percentage of, let's say, collective input of humanity. But as we can see later on towards today, even this electronic media that we still think is very important is, especially when it comes to news consumption, becoming more and more obsolete or marginalized in terms of percentage. But what is really important for me with this image, that once you see this image, you cannot unsee it. I think it is a very tough influence on the way we think, is that we're discussing irreversible processes. So when, for instance, in library circles, we hear skepticism about the digital sphere, usually there is this undertone where it is almost as if somebody tries to imply that all this internet will go away. And somehow that is not a smart implication to base your existence strategy on. For libraries, for instance, we happen to be in one, this is why I mentioned them, otherwise this same thing is happening to any intermediary when it comes to knowledge. I use that expression one other time in a house over there across the street when we had a big debate over ACTA, intellectual property mishap of some Freemasons. That we should all know that dinosaurs didn't die because meteors fell on the earth. Dinosaurs died because they didn't know how to adapt to the new earth once meteors have fallen. And to waste energy on banning meteors is not a good investment of time. It's about adapting. This season and this generation of humans has tougher job adapting than most previous generations, practically all of them. So that's the market of information thing. Then one other thing to have in mind is the evolution of the digital sphere itself. In this case, the internet, really the browser-based internet itself. So I'm just going to fly through a few steps that I believe are important to understand, and again, especially because they're not coming back. Around 95, we had the age roughly around 95, the age of portals. That's the time, almost 20 years ago, that we used the expression internet portal for stuff online. Yahoo is the iconic project, and all that counted was your presence. All you had to do is just publish. And you were done. That's sort of the maximum you could do, and especially for corporate and governmental sphere, this was like totally forever the maximum. Later on, actually from 1998, we have Google, but still, from roughly around 2000, we have the age of search engines, with Google as iconic. And the point this time being that visibility is a key attribute of your digital existence, if you wish. Next step, again, roughly 5 years later, is a social epoch, where Facebook is kind of significant, and the dialogue is the main feature, the main activity, the main purpose. It is in this time, 8 years ago, that we began and also ended, because it was obvious right away, discussing that the entire purpose of being online is to establish a dialogue with your constituency, with your consumers, with your customers. Call the humans whatever you want, but establishing a clean, bi-directional and multi-directional exchange between everybody alive in your world, so to say. The era we have now in front of us is this big data era. This is, of course, completely arbitrary, and it's totally debatable, but it's an interesting intellectual crutch to work with. Now we're living in this time of big data, and we're discussing accessibility of data. PRISM is the most iconic project of this time, much more so than WikiLeaks or even Wikipedia, which are massively important, run by dear friends. PRISM, who is not run by dear friends, I think is even more of a telling example. And what we are now noticing is that unlike the classic social media approach, where we discussed digital existence as a set of dialogues, we now need to understand our existence inside an ecosystem, which is not a trivial rhetorical refreshment. It's not a set of expressions that I choose in order to, sound fresh. It is a serious, utterance. It is a serious thing to say, because I happen to believe that a society in itself, our entire society, while transforming itself into information society, is not just changing the size of computers on the tables, but is also undergoing a very thorough, very deep structural change. The structure of society is less like a pyramid, like a command structure, like a command line structure, and much more resembling an ecosystem as a dominant metaphor to understand the relations. And I think this is of fundamental importance to be able to adapt to the world. Oh yeah, let's see more stuff. Now, what I believe is important for the guys involved in providing access to the owners of databases, because I believe those people should be addressed. It's not all about arming the army of the poor to fight the castle. It's also about informing the owners of the castle how to behave, right? So I'm choosing in this talk, and I apologize if this is a problem, was aimed at people who are sitting on large databases that were created with public money, by the way, incidentally. And I was telling them, look guys, what's really important for you to understand is that it's not enough for you to just put everything online. I mean, you have to do it anyway. Now there's a directive from European, cloud, so you're going to be doing it, regardless of the opposition you offer. It's about establishing what we call architecture of participation. So let's see, what on earth is this? Trick is that we happen to be building systems in order to have them, for people to use them, actually use them. Our job is not done just when we build a system. We have to take care that it gets used. And this is a massive difference. The question is whether we are using any what's that expression, KPI, right? Key performance indicator. They're based on use of our systems, or we are just satisfied by the fact that we have a system. And trust me, if I can speak about that also, in that meeting everybody was deeply puzzled with this suggestion. Why? But we were told only to put it online. This was just a little bonus for the guys in the room because nobody knew the story of supervisor. I was involved. It's a point of pride. Supervisor, as I had described earlier, is like this massive feat of self-inflicted wicked. It's proof of some weird, good level of transparency that we now have. But as a matter of fact, it should be told that it happened by chance. It's an incident. Supervisor software was developed as an in-house software for the Counter-Corruption Committee in order for them, internally, again, to be able to dive through the database of Ministry of Finance where all the contracts and cash flow was stored. And then, one day, a nice young guy, a friend of mine, who developed the whole system with his team, went to the chief of Anti-Corruption Committee and said, why don't we put this online? Why don't we just port it on the web? I can do it, it's easy. And the other guy said, well, budgets, la la la. Well, this friend of mine said, well, no, you didn't get me. I'm giving it to you. And then the deal was done. And until 2 days before the launch, nobody at the Counter-Corruption Committee knew, except for the boss, that they're actually going to publish it. Now, this was safety, because they're employing dozens of people. Most of them have good connections in our society. So this is an interesting trick. We are very proud of the fact that Slovenia is now #1 in the world. They just recently Supervisor got recently the United Nations Prize for the best project of this type in the world, and so on and so on. We are very proud, but it was actually an incident. It is a project that was a gift from a private person, from an alpha geek, from an engaged hacker, a gift to the state. It didn't come out of the state as a desire, as a plan, as a directive, as a wish, as a financed object. I think it's an important thing to share. Let's move on. I'm trying to make this faster now. I'm realizing I'm talking too much. So this is a set of suggestions I gave to these people. First thing you need to do is to make a map of all kinds of stakeholders. Everybody that is creating the ecosystem where you belong. You can rank them either by competencies or by involvement, level of involvement, or by responsibility, which means either academy or NGOs or governmental sector. This slide was supposed to insult everybody in the room, and I think it also did back there at the ministry, because I clearly said that they have nothing to do with competence or engagement. They're just responsible. Okay, and they understood the point. The second thing that really makes sense once you are the owner of an important or possibly relevant database is to actually come out with the information. You have a database that you are willing to give it out, and open that project in a similar fashion that we do systemically for ages now with urbanistic plans for cities. You just have to open that plan in front of everybody involved and let everybody dive in, put their remarks, and then you change the plan according to the interest groups. So a hackathon, which is a favorite new word used by all Euro bureaucrats, hackathon is too little, too late. It is a sexy thing to do, but that if you do it only by the time you have already opened your database, created an interface and the rules of use, it's too late. It's not going to fly. So, one other thing you really need to do is to stimulate your alpha geeks. This is a weird syntagma, combination of words. I just found it somewhere and I liked it. It doesn't have to mean boys or girls. It's gender neutral. I hope we get that. And but the trick is that in each and every society, in each and every generation, you have a bunch of people, crazy ones, that have the motivation, the knowledge, and the spare time to actually do innovative stuff even without being paid. And we call these people alpha geeks for some reason. It's good if you're the owner of a database that you plan to engage with these guys. You have to plan to find them, you have to have the ability to find them, and to make them work with you. Okay, and then after you've published your thing, it's important that you keep grooming your data, it's important that you keep expanding your database, merging it with others if possible, and so on. And it's crucial, if you're into cartography and stuff like that, that you offer new layers of information continuously and that you teach your users and you get teaching out of them. You have to learn from your users. All right, I'm keeping it simple now because there we are with time. A couple of examples just from different nearby countries. This is from Serbia. It's geotagged information on expenditure of public money. So you have suddenly a map and you can see everywhere around you where the money goes. It's kind of interesting, but what this project really did is that it sensitized the population to this type of information to begin with. You said, oh, my neighbor is getting all this cash. Okay, so it's a weird motive, but what got you thinking is important. This is a project in Croatia, much more complex one with several sub-projects all about transparency of public funds. This is a 1 week or 2 week old project from here. This is a zooming in this area. These colored houses are of different color according to the value, according to the state committee, or what's the word. This is a very recent thing. Each and every house in Slovenia got a state-sanctioned value attached, because that's a basis for a real estate tax that we are now getting literally as we speak. Because right now there's a coalition meeting in another room over there, and they're trying to swindle through that particular law. And this retarded, or what's the word? No, retired, no, never mind. Some guy's blocking it, never mind. Politics. So yet again, the point being, we are responsible. We have to discover some normal, lifelike indicators of success when we are publishing databases, let's say. We need really badly to involve our users in the planning stage. If we first plan and then give it to users, it's not going to fly. We're going to have to work in iterations and it's going to cost us. Third thing, we need, when we plan for cash, we need to plan for a portion of that cash to go to the stimulation of use. That can be either marketing or rather education. And that's it. For me, this is like this official part. What's this? What's this? Yeah. This is a footage from a hospital here in Ljubljana made of a deaf and mute girl talking to her friend via the video phone. I like that very much. Yeah. This is a slide where you say, talk to me. All right, this was the block I had for you today. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, my name is Simon Macuch. I am a sculptor, performer, philosopher, but I mostly work in the field of art. So this actually what I'm going to show you is one artistic project, but it's very socially broader than it's actually art. So from the point of artistic view, as a sculptor, I see such things as social sculptures. This is the term that comes from Joseph Beuys mostly, but you will actually, you could see what I mean with that. This was thing I started to develop under the title radioactivity. It's kind of 1 year ago. This summer I actually had one exhibition onto this topic in Likovni Salon in Celje. There's a few few photos from that time. And actually it was this was our. I'm going to show more practically, and then with the practical examples I could. This was an opening performance. This is our group called SIVA. It's actually a group of 3. We were doing things with culture of common life. A few years ago, we did some pieces about clothing. But this was actually our, we made a concert. So we had 3 pieces. This one here is Chinese clothes. Actually, we put some labels made in China on our clothes, and then we play some. There is one trick that you play if you play on the black thing is on the keyboard. You get Chinese, something Oriental sounded music out of it. None of us is a musician, but we're here the radio and okay, this is kind of concert and this is audio thing. What we had on that exhibition was the radio transmitter that we did with a group, the group in school, middle school, for the electronics, electrotechnics in Celje, and actually we did I asked the teachers there if I can enter the group, and we did one transmitter, very simple transmitter. The process for them was interesting, and then we broadcasted it here. This is actually forbidden thing what we did. This is one of our strategy. Actually here 2 strategies are present. One is that I, as a person, enter the groups and I try to make some laterally and temporary joining to that groups, because in our system we tend too much to have everything permanent. School is tending to be always the same and so on. So sometimes they would like to make something else, but they cannot because they are stuck into this forum of planning how must be program done and so on. This is the lateral logic I use, and I enter the group, I cooperate with the group, and I go out. This is we usually get, everybody can get something out of it. That's the goal. Here I have some photos about how we were doing this with those with the teacher and those students in that school. Why I am doing this? What is this concerning with this? This lateral logic is actually opening the space. It's opening the side doors of the institutions, who usually have in our society mostly one door for in and one door for out, but legitimately to come a little bit from the side and to do something is from time to time everybody good, because we shift a lot. I also was trying to connect 2 temporary groups. I am also talking quite a lot now about the infrastructure for the radio and so on. Let me use this word demystification of the technology. This was my idea, to demystify the radio, the technology. About the radios, we are very scared because radio is very regulated field. If someone, usually when I was talking to people, no, but with the radio, everything seems to be forbidden. Everything seems to be very closed. Everything is very abstract because this technology is mostly presented as many boxes of weird technology that black or gray or silver boxes, servers, and people don't know. With this, actually, we demystified the technology. This is, now I'm talking about formal infrastructural aspects of this. That's why I even went a little bit into earlier years, how this was actually, if we think about the radio, what we need. We need transmitter to transmit and receiver to receive. I tried to find the simplest radio possible, and it's made out of a wire. I also a little bit adapted the plan, the things of what they are made of, and we were using this telephone wire instead of that. It's called magnet wire. It's inside the speakers, but this is special kind of wire. But this telephone wire we have everywhere. People throw it away. So I was adapting to the materials that we can find in our everyday surroundings. And then we were talking about the radio. You can see there were a lot of young, very young children there. But I think at some kind of on some level they could understand what is radio receiver. This one is called Foxhole radio. It's actually very simply made. I won't go to the details. It's made by that wire I mentioned. This is the coil. You make a diode. A diode is made by the razor blade. You put it on the intensive heat, and there is one the one oxide forms, and with the pencil like this one, and then you make a diode. And then for the output we were using the computer speakers, very loud, and we could in two workshops, not with all radios, with one or two, we could start to receive something. And now that radio, what we have around, I decided to use FM radio because it's still the most spreaded radio. It's still the most common radio we use. I think the next best alternative is internet radio, but in the kitchens, when we cook, in the offices and so on, we still mostly are using FM radio. That's why FM radio. And then I went to research. Now, if I am a little bit critical to the kind of radios we have in Slovenia, but I think also elsewhere, but this is not true only for the radios, it's also for the television and other media. We have two dominant paradigms. And these two dominant paradigms are that all the program in between is just made with these so-called national and public radios, just from one political show to another. In between is just something to keep people busy from one poročila to another poročila. This is one main paradigm. With the commercial media, it's the same, but this other program is just to fill up the gap between one commercial block to another commercial block. And that is the picture that we have, that we face. We probably all can remember how after our independence the radio and television station started to grow as mushrooms in this kind of weather. I am asking myself, who led them to... It was actually very wild. Very, very wild. I think there is also a few owners of these frequencies and so on. Was in this process, in some point I came to the notion of I found these examples of community radios, skupnostni radiji. Community radios, this is what in Slovenia actually is very unknown. But if I make one example, this radio is community radio and it is pirate radio, Radio Kričač. It was established by one community, it was established against that situation, the paradigm that was too much. I'm sorry, some of photos perhaps they may be still turned in other direction, but okay. And this, but in between community radio and these big radios, we still have some specialized radios. We have radios who cover that cover some special population. For example, if we just remember to Radio Student, it is covering, it was established to cover younger population. By the way, Radio Student is having problems because this radio was struggling against that two paradigms I was mentioning before. Then there is this for religious people, Radio Ognišče. It's also kind of, and this then there is that Radio SI for foreigners. These are, for example, 3 examples of radios who are at least a little bit specialized, who are specialized for some groups. But the idea of community radio could be this, that it could be established, but there is one problem. If you make this big radio, that's why you need a lot of infrastructure. This is now the quantity, a lot of people working in it, and so on. How to enter, how to do this community radios, it's actually a very good thing to think about. Of course, participation and to establishing community, but also in what kind of modus could you be working. And the modus is temporary. Because this is one good solution, because then you don't get to that spatial and time burden, the burden of space and time, as I noticed as we can all notice by that other radios, and they are very automatically, very robotical, very every day the same schedule. if you have a problem, you find a community, and then you establish exactly that kind of infrastructure I was showing to you before could be used for that. Okay, not so improvised things for transmitting, but for receiving, why not? But on the market you can buy cheap transmitters, or you can hire the network and so on. This is actually the solution that Radio Zona is using. Radio Zona is already one kind of artistic radio. They are doing artistic radio works, and they are using this technology. What is community? Community is that one interesting group assembles. I believe that if this should be democratical, because the ethics is telling us that with the radio we don't want to be oppressive or insulting and so on. I think this community should come together, put the problems on the table, and with the consensus make kind of decisions for the program, and go into the action how to spread them around. And when it's done, it can be also finished. And until the next time or the next group that is doing it. And the forums that are possible in Slovenia, I can show you fastly this. I'm not going to open all these documents. These were documents, laws and so on that I went through because I wanted to research how to enter legally to get the frequency for me. And there is possibility in Slovenia still. There are some, for example, in Ljubljana it is 89.3 frequency. It can be used. They call it for the events. It can be used at mostly for the 2 weeks. But no one uses it except the Radio Zona now. Actually, I think I was, I still didn't meet someone else, so I was the second one. In Celje we have this frequency on 106.0 megahertz. And this is, so we have infrastructure, we have this legal, but it's payable. I don't know. They gave me permission because we made for the night of museums. We made radio play, and they gave me for frequency for 3 days. This is APEC, Agencija for pošto, za pošto in elektronske komunikacije. They gave, they are in charge for that. Then I saw this is in it is good. It was good in the sense because you also establish your own infrastructure and so on. It's didactical as well because in the sense of demystifying the technology. And then the other strategy would be to ask all the established radio stations. I am sure that every radio station has this non-operational time. Sometimes they don't know what to do with their time, and you can ask them, please, can you borrow us half an hour of your time? but I believe in this. We would have a lot of conceptual problems. They can put so many times, so many, so very same things. I believe if sometimes this all repetitions of the same things can go away. And the third thing is actually that we do pirate radio, because this is then the question about if they don't let us to share frequencies, because when I was talking about that frequencies that are still free, it's the fact is that they are free, but not in all Slovenia. There are some kind of frequency holes in our country. So if the legal and formal things are like they are today, I think, and if we question them if for their legitimacy, and if they are not legitimate, this formed groups who have that they have something to tell, they have legitimate right to enter and to overdrive that established frequencies. And with this fact and with this thing, I would conclude.